So the thing is that we have really subjugated our power in our lives so much to the government, and they've been very, very clever. So of course, above the government, we have, the controlling entities and the controlling forces above the governments, who are then, everything down from that is just the puppeteers. And we're kind of the bottom feeders, or we're being treated like the bottom feeders, and we have allowed that to occur. So I am so honored that you have kind of heard the call and that you're jumping in. And I'm really hoping that we can grow a movement that is peaceful, that is lawful, and that we can figure out ways to not, there's some people out there saying we need to take down the government. In my eyes, that just says, well, the government has power over us. It says even more that, well, the government has the power over us, so we have to take down the government, or we have to vote this government out. They're all the bloody same. And they're doing a terrible job. So in my thought process, it's like, okay, I don't know who's seen that little meme going around, that little video clip going around from the movie with the grasshoppers and the ants. And there's I should have found it and played it. So I can't remember what the name of the movie is, but it's a Disney cartoon, animated.
It's called Ants.
Okay, all right, there you go. It's just called Ants. All right. And the grasshoppers are like controlling everything. And there's this meeting, and this one grasshopper speaks up and says, oh, there's just this one ant who's speaking up, and he's such a pain in the ass, and he's only one ant. And then the controlling grasshopper says, oh, he's only one ant. And he's got this thing beside him with peas in it, and he opens up one pea, and the pea drops out on the grasshopper's head, and he goes, oh, that was just one pea. And he opens it up again, another pea drops out, oh, that was just another pea. And then all of a sudden he opens up the thing that's got all the peas in it, and all the peas come rushing out and kind of just smash these few grasshoppers in front. And he says, one ant is not a problem. If all the ants realize that they outnumber us, we're stuffed, basically was the message. And this is the thing, we outnumber the controllers, and we outnumber the government by 100,000 to 1 at least. So it's up to us to say, well, screw you, we don't need you. You're sort of useful for certain things, but you have overstretched your boundaries. And it's government overreach, massive government overreach right now. And whatever side of the fence you're on, I'm not here to debate the current government health initiatives. I'm not here to debate any of that. What I'm really here to look at is things like that video by Sonia was her name, the lady in Melbourne.
Carly.
Carly, that was it. Her last name was something like that. Carly. So she spoke up and sort of said, well, this is what we're doing, is we're destroying our lives, we're destroying our businesses, we're destroying our spirit. And basically, we're destroying our future. We're robbing our children of their future. We're robbing everybody's kind of, not everybody, but a lot of people have lost everything. They've lost their entire futures. They've lost their businesses. Many have lost their will to live. And we're seeing suicide rates go through the roof. And it seems to be no sign of slowing at this point. And we need action on multiple levels. So I've also been working with doing some incredible work with some light workers. I see some of them here on the call today. We did some amazing work, sort of in the spirit realm, if that's a good word for it, because there are things going on multiple levels. But we need boots on the ground as well. So we need action steps to be able to just say, give the big finger to the government and go, you know what? We're just going to do our own thing, and good luck. with that. Whatever you're doing, good luck, because we're not interested in whatever the hell you've got. We're very fortunate that we have some pretty heavy hitters out there like Dr. Raina Fulmick and other doctors who are speaking up about the certain things that are going on. The kind of thing that I want to discuss is helping people with their financial recovery, because at the moment we have more and more and more, a larger percentage of the population who are going to be ended up being dependent on the government. And when you're dependent on the government, you're basically controlled by the government, because they can just say, oh, you don't want to do what we want you to do? Fine, we'll just cut you off. Well, you have no income anymore until you comply. So this is the dangerous territory that we are very quickly heading into. So looking at helping business people with financial recovery, or people who have lost their jobs with financial recovery, or people who are in the health sector and do not want to have to comply with government requirements, with providing them another source of income. So these are big kind of, these are big problems and big solutions that we're looking at. This is not just we'll fix it in a day kind of thing, but this is where I really want to nut out strategies for future financial security and natural health initiatives. I think we have an opportunity right now. I went to Go Vita, just it's about 60 k's up the road from me in Gympie, and it's a little natural health store. And they said, people seem to be more invested in their health right now. They're actually considering, some people, not all people obviously, but they're considering their health and looking for natural health alternatives. So we have an incredible opportunity to start, for those who are interested in it, to start to bring together natural health education, natural health initiatives, natural health therapists, to be able to build a healthier population. Let's face it, this health crisis, this particular health crisis isn't new. Health crises in general have been building for decades. So there's an incredible opportunity here in those respects. The educating people on what their rights really are. There's so much confusion out there at the moment about what our rights are. What are our rights around masks? What are our rights around getting the tests? What are our rights around having to sign in everywhere we go? And there's a lot of polarizing and alternative views, and people who are analyzing the law and giving us such confusing information. So I have contacted the Know Your Rights groups, and they said they're going to sit this out until we've got something more concrete and we've got plans in place, because they've been a part of initiatives before. And in the email said, egos get involved, and it all kind of falls apart. So they're not saying they won't get involved. They're just saying that they're going to wait a little while until we have something more concrete. And I'm hoping to eventually get people like Craig Kelly involved, and bring in the Reignite Democracy Australia, and just bring in the people who really know their shit. We've got some incredible small organizations out there that are doing wonderful things. But it's time to really get the community behind these initiatives that are already happening out there and come together as a united force. So that's me. Does anybody want to speak to that and offer something? Open floor. John will speak.
Yeah, I will.
Hey, Pat.
I lived in New Zealand for 20 years, and you might have all seen the the initiatives Mike King has done for mental health over this last 20 years, and he's done it on his own. And part of that, in my opinion, has been how he's been in claiming that space and not negating the work, but I just so see now the, and it's totally in line with where we are, we can't do this alone. And a lot of people will need help to learn how to collaborate and how to co-create and to come to that space. They'll be willing, but not be sure. So, you know, being able to identify and harness the strengths and then bring that forth. It's like a good horsewoman, if she's got a team of horses, knows what each horse wants. So I'm getting goosebumps saying that. So being able to harness now the strengths and the good that we see, I think is a very important part. And we all know a lot of people. So being able to identify where all that richness could come from, and then it needs some form. I think I shared with you there's a group out of Europe called the Creative Society, and they've been working for a number of years, and they have 8 pillars of what a creative society would look like. And I think that's a good model to look at how another group have been giving form to their ideals. Yeah. So
Okay.
That's me for now.
Thank you so much, Pat. I think that was awesome, actually. Hi, everyone. One of the things that I would love to know first and foremost is my rights. So I think that if I know what my rights are, then that helps me help everyone else. And I think that you're right, Marguerita, there's so much information out there now that it is overwhelming and confusing. And I think that the herd mentality is relying on the consistent messages. And if the consistent message is put your mask on and get a vaccine, then that's what they're going to do, because everything else is so overwhelming. And I know for me personally, as an empath, I've stopped watching all the videos. So what I really want now is, what are my rights? What can I do? How can I go about doing it peacefully? Because what I've found too is that when you start to assert your rights, and I've had messages from people from all over the place saying, I didn't wear my mask and I got abused, and this, that, and the other is going on. So there's this massive divide. And I think that when we know and understand exactly what our rights are from someone who is actually qualified to give it to us, then we know what foundation we're working from, and we can develop strategies around that. Because I think that at the moment, it's like throwing shit at a wall and hoping it'll stick. We really need to know, what is the foundation? What are we working with? What are the steps that we can take? We're all light workers. We all have the ability to shine a light, and people will see it. But people aren't going to see it while there's fucking clouds hanging around, excuse my French, clouds hanging around, and we're all going, oh shit, there's a cloud. Maybe I need to find another way. So for me, if I know what my rights are, then I can actually say, no, hang on a minute, do you know of this, and are you aware of that? I mean, we've got divide in my own family right now. So it's not just societies dividing, there are families dividing with people who think they know and people who do know. And so when you've got that happening, it's the divide is happening around the herd mentality. So what we need to do, in my opinion, is create our own bloody herd.
Oh, amen to that. Amen to that.
I think, I'm really finding at this point that for my own sort of
peace of mind and just to swim through everything, we kind of need to pick our battles as well. Like, I know that we're also against masking and QRing and all these things, but as you said, we're coming up in these situations where we're butting heads with people, and then that makes us retreat into a little hole because it's all too hard. I think we need to pick our battles. Personally, you know, I'm strongly a non-masker, and, you know, but that means I'm kind of hiding at home a lot of the time in a way, because I don't want to face the aggro out there. So it's really keeping ourselves strong, but yet, you know, just sometimes it just gets hard, I know. And as a collaboration, yes, we were forced to be reckoned with, but it's finding that balance and swimming through it rather than just always swimming against it, I think is where I'm coming from, I suppose. Collaborating with groups like this, absolutely, but for our own sanity and mental health and physical health, ultimately, where that comes from, yeah, you've got to pick your battles sometimes. And I know that then people will go, but you know, that's being weak and we need to stand up against the forces and so forth. But, you know, sometimes it's, for me, is picking and choosing in what situations. That's just me.
I completely agree, Tafflin. Sorry.
Yeah, totally. And I think that that's actually the smart way to do it, because I think that if we come out and go rah, rah, and wave our swords, we're just making targets of ourselves. And that's not about retreating. If you want to use the ants analogy, he was smart about it. He you know, he created mini groups who then created a ripple effect. And someone mentioned
communities like this, which is great. You know, you're not alone.
Yeah, but this community needs to expand as well.
Oh, definitely. And yeah, there's lots of groups. There's
I mean, yeah, so if you think about it, in the last meeting we had 69 people. Today we've got 30. So how do we get around that and get the other 39 back? You know, like it's not just turning up and collaborating, it's actually putting the energy into it and, you know, making collaboration so that they work in mini groups if we need to, because probably the 39 that aren't here have to work. So it's not just that they're not here because they don't give a shit. They've probably got kids at home or whatever. So it's not that they don't care. It's about how do we work together to have these collaborative groups, because I love what Pat said about the 8 pillars and the model of how we work together, because I understand exactly how you feel, Tafflin, because I had the same issue going to the school this morning. We're in lockdown and I put my mask on because I cannot be bothered arguing with idiots. But at the end of the day, is that complicit, or is that just making life easier for myself so I can get in there and get out of there?
And that's, I think, and everybody's going to be different with that. And it's really just going to feel right for you. And in situations where you feel that you don't need to, then you don't. But I guess, for your own peace of mind, or we are all literally going to go insane. And there's no good in that.
So I think it's about having strategies and having, you know, different aspects coming in with who's got what strength. If you've got a group of people who are more focused on holistic, you know, vegetables and growth, then awesome. They're the people that can educate on how to be self-sufficient in your own backyard. If you've got people who have strength in understanding the legal side of it, then great. They can be a group that inform everybody else. I think that, you know, we can't all speak at once, but we can all listen at once as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with both of you wholeheartedly. Vratka, what is it you would love to say?
What I was going to say, I absolutely agree with everything what was said by now. We were looking at a platform which we can actually take as a future platform, basic platform for humanity, which would be filled with all those professionals. Myself and my colleague, we spent on it 2 years. So if anyone is interested, it will be available. But I studied commerce as my first degree. Second degree is psychology and media studies. So I can see the manipulation, enormous amount of manipulation and deceiving us and it's enormous and it's so well prepared. But what I'm looking at now is the common law and constitutional law. And from what I understood is that actually the government is running as a corporation. I trust that you are aware of it, or maybe you are not, I don't know. But we were basically deceived to contract with them. And the contract is not open because we don't know that they are corporate. So I just came across a lady who is American, and she set up a land register, and basically people can walk out from corporations, governments, and become like we the people, living beings. And as far as I know, there is a group of people in Queensland, and they are basing this on that she's a jury. She used to be a jury, and they are creating something similar. So I will just post your website if you have an interest to look at it, because I think that's the whole problem, is that they are running as a corporations, and they want us to believe that we are actually implying common law and constitutional law. That's what I see the really core of what the government is doing to us at this moment.
Completely agree, Vratko. We need, we definitely need more education around that. So yeah, that's definitely got to be one of the pillars.
If you basically, because they are speaking of compulsory vaccinations. Well, if they are contracting us, we can say no to that contract. Anyway, it's as I said, I'm just looking at it, so I'm not 100% comfortable with all that information. I need to dig in more into common law and constitutional law. This is the area which I'm really just starting.
Fantastic.
Can I add something to what Vratko was just saying? In regard to the media manipulation, the actual the whole way that this has been rolled out, from my knowledge or understanding, and I was led to find out about this information, was developed by a Colonel Michael Aquino in the American military as part of the MK Ultra program. And the way that they've actually structured it is, and this is a worldwide thing, as you're well aware, is that people generally tend to want to do the right thing by their community. They want to, be seen to be supporting their community and doing everything that is going to benefit everybody in the community. Now, the way that it's been rolled out is that it is painting people who go against that narrative as being disruptive of community, of being troublemakers, of not going along and not supporting everybody else, and there's, therefore they are disruptive. And it's a very, very well thought out and psychologically, structured way of doing it, based on the MK Ultra way of doing things. And he is actually a Satanist. He's well known as a Satanist, and it is a very diabolical sort of maneuver in my part, in my understanding. But I also want to say that Vratko and I both belong to a group down here in Tasmania, a local group, and we've just joined it, and it's amazing how the energy you can derive from being involved with people physically and locally is, it's just amazing. We belong to two groups actually together, and it's just phenomenal how Zoom's a wonderful way of connecting, but if you can find local people, and we've done this through various ways, it's actually very, very amazing how that energy works to I think support the whole energy of the planet. But anyway, I just wanted to add that.
Yeah, that's right, Joe. And I think that I completely agree on everything everybody's saying so far. and that when we do grow this to a certain point, that bringing those communities together. I've seen the stand in the park at Noosaville, and it's been going for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. And they probably grew from about 3 people to about 30 people, and they sort of vacillate between 20 and 30 people. But it's because people need to get there. I mean, for me, it's an hour's drive, and I went twice and went, oh, I just can't be staffed. I mean, which is really, it's terrible, really. But I decided to I decided to bring more people together in an online space and grow this, because from this, if we can collaborate online and get, you know, start to get thousands of people involved in their various areas of expertise, and educating people, at least on a Zoom meeting, we can break out into different rooms when we get big enough to talk about our rights, to talk about community gardens, to talk about becoming self-reliant and health initiatives and all those kind of things. Lana, I agree with you that, you know, we went from, with the light workers group, because it is a different group, this is kind of open for everybody. We did go from 66, and yesterday we dropped to 30. And maybe we take these meetings to evenings, evenings in Australia. It's just eventually, like, this is kind of centralized in Australia at the moment, but anybody who's overseas, if we're successful, when we're successful in bringing together the forces and becoming a united force and a united front on across the board, then that can then roll out to, you know, other countries who want to kind of follow the model. It sort of, that's my idea. Yes.
Marguerita, what I'm thinking is maybe we just need a communication tree, for example, or something that, you know, passes on the communication in a way that is accountable and measurable. And what I mean by that is clear messages that people can work with and know and stay in the loop, because we are working with time zones. We're working with, you know, different people who have different things that they've got to do for whatever reason. And my apologies, I thought yesterday was moved to today. So that's why I wasn't on yesterday. But, you know, hands up, I'll own it, that's fine. But the point that I'm getting at is that if we've got a genuine chain of communication that isn't able to be traced, then for me, I think that that's a really good start, because then everybody knows where everybody's at. I think it's that whole Chinese whispers that starts to come in. Egos do get involved, and ego is necessary because it can highlight things too. But it's about having that clear channel for all of us to collaborate with. And I think that, you know, one of the things that Joe has just said is that the marketing campaign that they have been creating over years with stats and everything. We're all marketers ourselves, and we look at stats and we look at all sorts of stuff, and they're no different. We just have to be just as good, if not better, and we're working with an energy that is better. So why not leverage that energy that we have and collaborate together and communicate together? You know, if I communicate with 5 people, if everyone just communicated with 5 people, it would start a ripple effect of communication that is pointed to the same direction. And this isn't about rebellion. This is about honoring ourselves and what we're here to do. You know, I think if we view it as rebellion, we're just as bad. If it's about honoring,
we don't. Yeah,
I don't think we can fight them on their level. We can't fight them on their level. And this is where we come back to community. We have an incredible opportunity to come back to community and remind everybody else about coming back and collaborating as a supportive, loving community. And that's where I think it was Christian Northrop, I heard her a few weeks ago saying that they're using our empathy against us, which is, I forget, was it you, Lana, who said about, or somebody said about, maybe Joe, it was about them saying, oh, you know, you've got to protect Granny. And it's like, there's a new campaign out there that's hashtag vitamin D signaling. I rolled up my sleeve today and I protected Granny with this photo of a vitamin D bottle. So, and bringing back this natural wisdom and all that kind of thing, and respecting everybody in the process. If somebody wants to wear a mask, then they can wear a mask. Exactly. You know, as Taflin said, picking your battles. It is hard to go out there day in, day out. And this is where I'm a bit tired of listening to the foul rants on Facebook. You know, A for effort to the lads who are getting out there, and they're shock value and they have woken some people up. But it's now time to stop swearing and abusing people on social media and actually come together and do something constructive together as a community. So yes, absolutely.
If I may add to it, I think we really should show them that there is something different to what government has to offer to us, and really start building something new, more healthy, beautiful, harmonious, cooperation, transparency to show. You know, it's not only about talking, but showing them that it's there, it is possible. Because a lot of people think, oh, government always lied to us, blah, 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 and what can we do, and are passive. So I think for us, it's okay. Theory, and put the theory in action.
Exactly, Vratka. That's exactly what I'm talking about. You nailed it. Love it.
Marguerita mentioned Carly, the young girl who did her rant, her breakdown live. And for me, what happened in the next 12 or 18 hours was, it just gave me the most delightful moment that I've had the last 18 months. People, without request, people rallied and gave her 15 grand in the shortest space of time. And I just thought, this is it. Because the bodies that are working against us, they can't be with that, right? They've lost their soul. They don't have empathy. They're in this space that they're in, and they don't get it. And it is so powerful if we can hold it and have that, it's like Fibonacci effect, you know, that flowering sequence, the pattern rolling out, and, you know, being generational in that. And no, you know, somebody obviously set up the page to make that happen, but they just had an idea and they acted. And they acted because their hearts were touched.
Absolutely. And that is the power of coming together as the collective. The difficulty is how many thousands of business owners, of micro business owners, home-based business owners, small entrepreneurs are out there who are suffering, who don't have her ability to articulate in the way that she did on a Zoom call, on a Facebook Live or a Instagram Live. And we can't, you know, like, she got 15 grand to get her over this hump. What happens after that? You know, are we still going to be in lockdown in 6 months' time? You know, who knows what Dancing Dan's going to do? Plus, you know, how do we build something that supports all the people who are suffering like Carly? And build something sustainable beyond that. So teaching them how to fish, how do we then come together, building other streams of income that are not at the mercy of external forces, of global economic crises, of there's something that, you know, that's why I built an online business. And I've been very fortunate that I have an online business that I can scale anytime that I like, regardless of what's going on globally. But, you know, I'm just one person. There are many more people who are suffering because of what has been happening. And that's where her plea just really spurred me into, you know what, we have to freaking do something. We cannot sit back. And, you know, as Queenslanders, we've been quite fortunate up here because, you know, I wouldn't say we're unaffected. Yeah, lots of businesses have suffered. Lots of businesses have gone down the tubes. There are lots of empty stores, but there are many of us who are kind of going like as business as usual and looking at Victoria and going, oh, you poor buggers, sucks to be you. And then New South Wales now, oh, geez, sorry, New South Wales, sucks to be you, but I'm in Queensland. You know, it's like, but I reached out to Carly 2 days ago and sent her an email to ask her to come and collaborate with us. Now she may already be busy. She may already have something to do, although she is in lockdown, or maybe she didn't get the email. I don't know. I reached out to Reignite Democracy Australia. I don't know if there are any representatives on here at this point. Maybe they're just sitting in the background watching. I reached out to Pat Masiti, who is now speaking out on his platform, and say, come on, Pat, come and join us. And he went, kind of like, tell me more. And then I told him more, and it's been crickets. So we need to build something that these people, these other influential people, I also reached out to somebody mentioned Serene Tefaha. I emailed her 2 days ago. But I know these people are busy. I'm not calling them out for a reason. They're busy, and they probably want to know that we have something solid. We're serious. We're going to do shit before they get on board. And the more of these people we can bring in. Yes, Tafflin.
I was just going to say, I emailed Reignite Democracy Australia a while ago, a couple of weeks ago, and they did send me an email back with a whole lot of resources and quite a bit of information. So they are quite active. And I think if we can maybe, they said email them to see if there's a group locally that we could connect with, because I've got my own group going on as well. So they do get back to you with information. But yeah, I don't know that they've got many on their team, and they would be quite spread quite thin because they're obviously incredibly active in Victoria. So
they're doing amazing work.
Amazing. Monica's amazing,
with small amount of resources they have. Unbelievable. And the same with Know Your Rights. The dude said to me, God, we're a week behind already. Sorry, we don't have time to take 2 hours out or an hour out for a Zoom call. So fair enough. Good call.
Marguerita, oh, sorry.
Yeah, no, go, Joe.
Look, just to give people hope, 41 years ago, and I know a couple of people on this group, but usually I don't talk about this sort of thing because it but Pat brought it up in the very first comment. So I will say this. 41 years ago, I had what I now understand to have been a Kundalini awakening, which ended me up in the mental health system for 35 years, in and out over many years. But as part of that original sort of amazing experience that happened back in 1979, I had a vision of the I'm sorry, I'll come back to this because we've got a business here, so sorry about that. I'll come back later.
Oops, who else wants the floor?
In the meantime, hello everyone.
Hi, Liam.
Just until she's ready, I do have some information I'd like to share from a podcast I listened to recently. Actually, the man who introduced me to this podcast is a market gardener, and recently, just once a week, every Friday, I've been going to his garden and helping and receiving a big box of organic veggies once a week, which keeps me going and my family, but also being part of something. So I love how you've mentioned gardens already, because there's a significance to that, which is part of our nature, part of our history. It's in our mythologies, it's in our DNA. For hundreds of thousands of years, we've been agrarian people, which means like agriculture is the care of the land. That's in Greek, it means the care of the land and the animals and each other. So the piece of information I wanted to share from this podcast, now I heard Kundalini awakening mentioned, so I thought maybe we can introduce a new concept. Is there's a way to kind of measure the frequency of people, events, and it was explained that currently, using the scale of 0 to 100, using the scale from 0 to 1,000, you can say, okay, humanity is, as a collective, has been rising in its vibration, becoming more aware, more light, more love. And it's now at about 230 out of 1,000. And there are, of course, people who are anywhere on that scale. Two more points which are very important. One, the children who have been born in the last 10 years are already above 500 on that scale. They're already Kundalini awakened. They already know who they are. They already remember their reason for being, and they are so strong-willed. And this is the new DNA, the golden DNA that we have, which is also available for all of us. And part of the missions of these children is to actually remind us and show us and share with us those new keys and codes, which then affect our DNA, and we start evolving together. So that's the first point. The second point is that these brilliant people on the podcast have, their names have eluded me now, it was a while ago. They also measured the vaccine. They also measured the COVID situation and the vaccine. And the reading which came back was 25 points out of 1,000. When the collective of humanity is already vibrating at 230, and the new children, and of course, people who are doing the inner work, gaining enlightenment, doing spiritual practices, clearing out, the old. So the vaccine being a solid 25 out of 1,000 on that scale is kind of like a death sentence in a way. It's such a low vibration that it's not going to kill anyone straight away, but it represents, an energy, if one can understand it this way, to try and wrap this up. It represents an energy which is misqualifying the very God presence that we have inside each of us, which is self-organizing, self-intelligent, self-healing, that we're all connected to through our hearts. So this vaccine is kind of like the latest in rejecting our true nature. And of course, the goddess and the feminine spirit, which is all nurturing and all giving with absolute ease. So just to bring this full circle, I hand it back over to you. Thank you for listening to my little speak. Is that now is a time to really get to know what it really means to be a human, what it like divinely, because we all are divine creatures, and also our connection to our Mother Earth and each other and all her children, really.
Love it. Thank you, Liam. That was a beautiful sharing. I really appreciate that, and the vibrational levels. Kind of, anybody who saw me, my head dropped when you said that humanity in general is at 230. It's like, oh my God, we've still got so much work to do. And this is where bringing in these high vibrational communities, so that information is invaluable. definitely agree with you about the communities. This is about sustainability moving forward. It's coming back to Mother Nature, to Earth, to the connection to our source, connection to each other, connecting to Mother Nature. You know, and I was so excited when I found out. I'm very fortunate. I live in a little country town, and the community is starting a farmers market here. I'm like, oh yes, I don't have to travel an hour to go to a farmer's market. This is awesome. But how do we generate these kind of things in big cities, and how do we overcome the big city problem where they don't have access to all this incredible fresh abundance of fresh food and gardens, and if they're living in apartments, they don't have their own ability to grow their own food like I do in my backyard. So these are the kind of issues we're facing, and definitely the vibration of humanity is under attack. And I think this is where, and we have to protect the children. You know, we have to protect the children. Their future is at stake right here, right now, and that's where they're really starting. Probably for exactly the reason you said, Liam. That's why they're starting to go for the kids, because they know that they're awake, and they're a great threat to the future plans. Yeah. Absolutely. So even if we don't do it for ourselves, let's do it for the kids. Marlena, you have your hand up. Where's Marlena? Would you like to unmute yourself?
Yeah, it's actually Ben.
I'm Marlena, but Ben wants to speak. Hi.
Ah,
hello.
Okay, cool.
We're from Sydney.
We saw you on the Zoom last night.
Ah, okay. Welcome. Well, there you are. Welcome,
Yeah.
welcome here. Sorry that you're in Sydney, guys. How can we help?
So are we.
Yeah.
You can send us some money. That would help. No, just kidding. No, I just wanted to go off Liam's, and thanks, Liam. That was very inspiring. It was Alejandro, I think, and I said his name, who I think is that podcaster. The one thing that I've come across that this is a long time ago, I thought this is like the way of the future, was Michael Tellinger's Ubuntu movement, which it's also, it calls it contributionism. And it's very much to do with a community system that is, it does involve having, free energy devices that are central to his system. But he's putting a lot of work out to educate people on this particular system. And it's actually to move away from the monetary system. And he's done a lot of research behind it. And one of the things when I first heard about it was I thought permaculture needs to be a part of it. And I think he's started to bring that into the mix. And I say this too is because I work as a gardener and an astrologer. So I'm in both down in the ground and up in the sky. But yeah, I think he's probably, I haven't come across anything that is, to me, pinpoints where we should be heading, both, without money being central to it. So yeah, I know people wanted to check that out as well. And one thing I actually wanted to ask too, because I've just found out today that as a gardener, whether I can actually work, because it's a grey area. And one of the things that I've noticed is the government wants to hand out payments to any workers that are not able to work. And for me, I feel that that's a massive trap, because it's kind of like, I don't know, I see it as the way, the Trojan horse to get us into the system, on the system, and also needing that system. So I don't know, for me personally, I'd rather not get paid than actually put my details in and get on the system. So I'm curious as to if anyone knows information on that, and or any insight into what that entails, or whether I'm just stupid and not getting money for free. So anyway, that's all I wanted to say.
Anybody have something they can offer, Ben?
I totally understand your conflict. I'm a pensioner, and years ago I thought, oh, that'll be great when I get there. And of course now it's a totally different picture, because if you haven't prepared well for this time of life, then what happens now? Something I wanted to share, and it's kind of linked. I have a friend in New Zealand. Her name is Daring Donna, and she created and has been living within rural communities using a gift economy. So she's another person we could be bringing into the fold. And I can just see that some of these names we've already mentioned, it becomes like a resource library. And how do we, thinking really big picture now, how do we link into that so that we're forging a pathway so that we don't have to be trapped in the old? We kind of don't have a staircase yet to, I totally get the Trojan horse. Yeah, so being able to create that stairway, and I'm kind of feeling also we need a plan. We need a vision, mission, purpose, core values. We need some foundational things to be put together that demonstrate in writing where we think we're heading. And I appreciate we're not totally clear yet, and what it's going to look like. And I just kind of feel, wow, that can actually grow out quite quickly. That could be very expansive. And all the various things that have happened in recent times. I had to move house recently and didn't want to use the cash reserves I had, and so I did it all with coin. Some of you might know about the coin currency, which is a bit like barter card. So these kind of pathways, there's as Marguerita's been saying, there's kind of an urgency to be transitioning something there, because I was never taught or prepared to be in this space, and I'm certainly willing to, I've got 2 gorgeous grandchildren, and they're so vulnerable. My grandson said to me recently, he drew a broken heart. He's 7, and he drew this broken heart, shattered, pulled apart, and in both sides he's drawing these images. And when he'd finished, he turned to me and he said, Nana, he said, happiness and sadness both live in the heart. And that just blew me away. And the person who alluded to they're coming for our kids, yes, and how advanced they are. Thank you.
Yeah, they are very advanced, and it is heartbreaking for everybody, but particularly for our children. Ben, if I might offer, yes, of course, you do not want to be reliant on the system. However, if it bridges a gap for you in the meantime to help you to just sustain yourself, because quite frankly, they have screwed us every way possible. And, and if that is something that you are then using to build upon from that, then, you've got to do something. And if that's something that gives you a bit of a lifeline in the short term, I was actually contracted when we had the 2008 financial crash. I was contracted into Centrelink. Oh my God, you never want to have anything like serious to do with that organization. The toxic levels are insane. I had to work with them for 9 months. And then the day that I didn't have to work with them for them anymore at 9 a.m. hit, and all of a sudden I just spontaneously burst into tears because I didn't have to go into Centrelink to work there another day. But, you know, the amount of people who were coming through and during the financial crash, which was, again, it was totally orchestrated. There's a movie out called The Big Short. If you haven't seen that, I still can't follow all of it. It's like, but it's incredible as to how all of that was orchestrated. And the people who had worked their entire lives to build businesses had nothing, and they were on their knees, and they had such shame in ringing up Centrelink to get something to get them by. And I just said to everyone, and there is no shame in this right now. This is not your fault. This has been brought upon yourself by external forces. You just need to survive. Do whatever you need to do to survive, because you will get back on your feet. And this is my cry right now, is how do we get humanity back on its feet, off its knees? Sorry, I'm going to drop the F-bomb, but off its fucking knees and back on its feet. I'm just so passionate about this right now, because damned if I'm going to stand by and watch humanity ground into the dirt by a few selfish mongrels at the top. It's just not on my watch, not on my watch. And I don't know what the hell to do about it, but that's why I'm calling people together, because together we need to, it's not one person who needs to find the solution. It's not one person in the United States who's going to save the freaking planet. This has to be a collective effort. Yes, there are some big players out there that are doing great things. Amen. Because we might not have a prayer without them, but we also don't have a prayer if we don't stand up. And the structure, we definitely need structure. We need organization. I love what you said, Pat, about having a mission statement and a vision and all of that is created by the collective. I mean, I have a vision, but I'm just one person. So we obviously need a place to share resources, to have conversations, and then come together and collaborate. And if we have 1,000 people who eventually come together, then how do we organize that? So everybody feels heard, everybody feels represented, everybody feels supported. I think I need to sleep now just thinking about it. Now we've got a few hands up. So Christy, you haven't spoken. I don't think you're Christy. I think Christy just walked away, but Christy with a beard.
Hey everyone, it's Ryan here, currently in Armidale, New South Wales. And man, it's really hard not to feel kind of overwhelmed with it all at the moment. But yeah, like I love what you're trying to do here. And I know that there's like lots of groups all over the world who are doing similar and trying to work out how to get through this. Yeah, I'm kind of trying to lean towards doing the guerrilla tactic of trying to reach out with people. So like, you know, at first I wasn't wearing a mask and kind of, you know, pushing that. And now I kind of, you know, wear whatever a bandana that I can breathe through. But I try to, like, you know, be aware of people who are trying to breathe in their mask, the workers, and kind of go, oh man, it's really hard to work in these, and trying to find some kind of bridge and commonality with people around the struggle, because no one wants to be wearing a mask. And then, like, you know, using that as a little kind of in, just to like drop a few little kind of truth bombs just to test out and like kind of gradually try to get word out there, and, you know, really powerful little bits of information that just make people go, oh really? Only one person has died of COVID in Australia this year? It's like, oh really? And it's, you know, and then it just opens up and kind of gauge where they're at and know whether you can go further. And, you know, I've had some amazing wins of, like, you know, manager in Bunnings chasing me around trying to put a mask on me, and then like she ended up, you know, I brought up ivermectin. You know, have you heard of ivermectin? No, what's this? And then like, and then she kind of went, oh look, I'm a naturopath. I'm not getting the fucking jab either, but like, you know, can you just, I have to give you this mask just to keep my job. I'm like, cool, no worries. I put it in my pocket and like walked off, and she was happy. I was happy, and she hopefully went home and researched some ivermectin, you know. And then, so I think there's lots we can do. I think not wearing a mask sometimes, just people, they've been so brainwashed into just like getting defensive and going, you're a non-masker, you're after me. So it's about kind of being a little bit sneaky, playing the game, but still trying to just like work on people and get it out there. So yeah. That's
completely agree, Brian. And you know, I know other friends of mine who say that you know, one said that she actually walked up to the Woolworth counter and just dropped a few things about the masks and about this and about their rights, and there were two people behind her who were listening who ripped their masks off. Two of the workers ripped their masks off. I don't know how that affected their employment. But and this is where, you know, these little things, they do make a difference. Every drop makes a difference. How do we coordinate that effort? How do we have like a coordinated project that we're all a part of? Like one thing that I thought of, and I don't need the legalities behind it. I think, Pat, you sort of warned me about the legalities of this, and I'd like to find that out. About, for instance, I've seen it done in the UK. This guy he was doing video, but I thought, do audio, go and make an appointment with my local GP and have questions. So, I want to talk to you about the vaccine, and have all these questions. Okay, so with my health status and my age, what are my risks if I get COVID? Okay, and if I get the vaccine, that stops me getting it and transmitting it, right? Oh, it doesn't. Oh, okay. And then just very strategic questions that I pose very respectfully, but I also have the answers printed out, and I record it all. So questions that I'm pretty damn sure they don't have answers to, about ivermectin, how about ivermectin, and why has that not been used, and about peer-reviewed studies, and about this, and about the deaths to the, you know, how many people have died from the vaccine? Do you know about the numbers in the United States? But have all the answers printed out in a little bag. And then before I leave, go, you're supposed to be giving me fully informed consent. Here are the answers to all my questions. I suggest you read this. Now, just say that it's legal to be able to do that, and we're not going to get anybody into trouble. No names revealed, just all voice recorded. We put that onto social media. Say 1,000 people went and did that with their local GPs. Do you think GPs would have alarm bells going off going, holy shit, what's this about? It'd spread like wildfire, wouldn't it? But what are these little strategies that we can do legally without getting ourselves into trouble? I said I need to consult a legal person on that, to create a mass awareness.
Now, the other idea, and we've kind of had, and there's other people doing it, but just like printing out flyers and doing like, you know, just kind of really posing really simple little questions. And I think asking questions of people is a great way, because you're not preaching to them, you're not ranting at them, you're just kind of going, oh, what about this? And you're kind of giving them the chance to speak and to actually go, oh, yeah, fuck, I haven't thought of that. What is the answer to that? And then it might set them off into thinking. So there's, Christy came across a website that's, what is it, World Freedom something, but they've got like all these printables that, you know, you can post up and links you to places. Because I think there's a lot of people, what I'm finding, because I try to have conversations wherever I go, trying to have conversations and just trying to test out where people are at. And I think like, I wouldn't be surprised if it's like 40 or 50% of the people that I come across have some knowledge that something is up. But we're all playing the game and kind of going, who can I really trust? And so I think we just kind of are trying to create little avenues for people to find communities, because, you know, we know that mainstream media and social media now are void of any real kind of connection points. We just need to help link people in, you know, in a subverted way. Completely
agree. Questions are fantastic because they're not a threat. If you're asking
Yeah.
questions, you're getting them to think. And this is where, if we rant at people, if we tell people, nobody likes being told. And I said that in a Telegram group and said, just ask that of the 70% of people who are just falling in line with whatever the government's telling them. I said, no, they haven't been told. They've been programmed. They've been coerced. And it's been years and decades of mind control that has got them compliant. And they damn well know it. People don't know it. The controlling forces know it. We are now, majority of us are compliant because we don't want trouble. We just want to get along. You know, we don't want to hurt anybody else, and we just want everybody to be happy or get along and be at peace. And you know, so yeah, I love it. Absolutely. Questions are definitely the way to go rather than telling people. Yeah. Now, Joe and Vratke, you still have your hands up. Are you wanting to say more? Yes.
Yeah,
Joe?
I just wanted to finish what I started. Unfortunately, as I said, we've got a business. Our business is we're a biodynamic and organic wholesaler, online retailer. But so I could be on and off all the time. But what I wanted to say was that when I had that Kundalini awakening in 1979, I actually had many visions of the future. I became very psychic and physically a whole lot of other enhanced abilities I also went to the future for 5 weeks and realized that we are eventually going on the planet to raise to another level. We are going to ascend as a human group, but I didn't understand at the time how difficult the road was actually going to be to get there and what we were dealing with. But what I did see in a vision, I saw it in 3 different ways, but the one that's easiest to understand is where I saw a whole lot of little pebbles being dropped into a pond, and they gradually spread out and out and out until it became this huge swirling vortex. And there was this energy that surrounded the planet that actually led to a total destabilization of what I was told was the top-down control structure of the planet. Although I was so part of the program, I didn't even know that there was a control structure. I didn't understand anything that I was seeing, but what I saw was this destabilization, and it was coming from the ground up. It was actually coming from grassroots. This is how I saw it in another vision. I saw many visions. Anyway, I was speaking to a friend about this, and she said that she had read about this in a book in the 1970s by a woman called Marilyn Ferguson called The Aquarian Conspiracy. And it was actually about all these little groups all around the world who had overlapping memberships, and their members were actually going, it was way before the internet, there was no that type of communication, but the message, whatever it was going to get from one group to another till suddenly there was going to be this big sort of mass understanding and awakening of the whole planet. And you know, I was thinking, wow, I didn't actually read the book myself, but this is how she explained it to me. And she said, what you're seeing is exactly what Miss Marilyn Ferguson had been talking about. And then came along in 1995, James Redfield's The Celestine Prophecy, which kind of added to all of this mix. And for the last 41 years, I've been trying to fill in all the gaps and really understand what is actually going on the planet. And one of my roles I see is to actually just join as many groups as I possibly can to kind of, you know, like find what people are doing and interact with both online and in my you know, like personal physical life as well, because this is how I see actually this ascension process. And so I'm involved in a lot of groups both internationally and locally and within Australia. So it's an amazing process that I see, and it's almost like this vision is being played out, you know, in front of my eyes, and it's just so exciting because for so long I've been regarded as a total mental write-off and you know, like because of this Kundalini awakening. And I just have to say that there's a lady in America called Penny Kelly who has had the fortitude and the courage to come out and write a book about her Kundalini awakening. And it was so raw, so real. And she is an amazing lady. And I'd recommend anybody who's interested in that process and what it means, because nobody at the time that it happened to me could understand, and all I was regarded as was totally insane, because I had the understanding that I was God and that I was trying to tell everybody I was God, which means you get locked up straight away. But what I now understand is that we are all fractals of God. We are all God in a physical life, embodying the Creator, and that's how I understand it. And so I got it. My ego must have got in the way. But anyway, that's just a little bit of that's what I was going to say before, just to give people hope, because I saw it all working out all in the end, but I did not envisage how difficult it was going to be. So
yeah,
Thank you so much, Jo.
Yeah, Liam.
Thank you so much for sharing that, because just simply by sharing your visions, I'm sure everyone on here is in fact being taken on a little journey and seeing things for themselves. So you're actually sharing the keys that you've and what you've experienced. Thank you so much for that. The ascension is quite a bit mysterious sometimes, but I just want to compliment what you said about it, with that ascending and, like collectively and individually ascending into a life which is more harmonious with the earth and each other. Ascending simply means becoming who you truly are. It doesn't need to be complicated. It doesn't need to be mystified. It's very simple. Just becoming who you truly are. And a Kundalini awakening, being opened, to the light that you are as a child of God, that we all are. Well, in this world, that can be a very scary experience. It is getting lighter, though. Yeah, very, very, very brave for just being yourself, especially, when your Kundalini awakening was like, was that 30 years ago now?
No, it was 41 years ago in 1979. So nobody knew anything about or was writing only in the East, and that's what Penny Kelly found. It was actually only in the Eastern literature was there when she was doing her own research about her own experience. She had to. There was nothing in Western literature about it, and so yes, I mean I can understand the mental health people not well, the training just didn't allow for it. But I've written a piece where I realised that in Brazil, for example, you see a lot of what happened actually. I'll just quickly go into that. I don't want to hog the conversation.
Yeah, please.
But but what happened, because I was shining a light, obviously, the negatives came after me in such a horrendous way that the jinn or the whoever they are that don't want this awakening to happen, that is really the battle that I then had to fight for 35 years to try and deal with these, because the mental health profession could not help me. They could not help me. And it was only through an amazing experience that I had where I was nearly dead. I physically dead and out of hospital, but for nearly 3 months I had to deal with these entities here, and it was only through my two connections I had. One with I was actually part of what happened to me. I was taken into a spaceship in 1983, and I was told by these beings, who I don't know who they are, but it was all telepathic and very, very loving. They said their message was to me, just keep going, we're supporting you. And so that was something that kept me going for many years after these creatures, whatever they are, tried to destroy me. But then my husband, I can't believe what he did, because the mental health people couldn't help. He let me go through this 3 months here, doing ritual after ritual to try and I didn't know what I was doing, but to try and keep these things at bay. But eventually I had to call on the spirit. I couldn't call on God. I'd reached, I'd thought that I was God, so I couldn't go any higher. And I was reading the Bible, and I don't know, I feel really weird saying all this to you people, but I just feel now I've got to this point, I better say it. But I was reading the Bible because I didn't know what else to do, and I was skin and bone. I couldn't eat. I was living on coffee and cigarettes. I couldn't even roll the cigarettes because my husband, and he rolled them for me because I needed some sort of sustenance to keep alive. But I called on, my cousin is an anthropologist in the northern, you'll see the connection in a minute, that was raised with a group of Aboriginal people in Marguerita, and he, for some reason, he's an initiated member of the tribe. He's white, but he's actually an initiated member of this tribe. And for some reason, I was told to call on the spirits of the dead elders of this tribe to help me, because I couldn't see I was going to last in my corporal body, any corporal situation any longer, that I was going to have to leave the planet. And as that happened, this light, and it was physical, it wasn't an imaginary thing, it was actually liquid, physical silver gold light came down through my body, through my head, through all my arms and legs. And I was so overwhelmed that I fell backwards and hit my head on the handle of the stove, because I was standing in the kitchen, and I nearly collapsed. I nearly knocked myself out with the thing, but I just sort of fell into this heap of tears and knew that I'd actually beaten them. But I believe that was the extraterrestrial group that actually sent that light to me. And it was only through that connection with the Aboriginal elders, because I've met some of them, that actually saved me. And so I'm sorry, I wasn't intending to say all this, but I just felt I had to pass it on, because
it's a beautiful story, Jo. Thank you for sharing that. And I mean, I think the whole point is that we are supported. We don't know that the support that we have in the realms right now is unbelievable. So as much as this particular group is not really about those higher realms, just to know that there is so much going on in other dimensions to help to bring in the support that we need right now, because we need support on every level. And there are things that are happening on every level, and that your experience is probably not an isolated one. There would be a lot of people out there who have had similar experiences over these last 50 years, as we are coming into this incredible ascension and time of evolution of humanity. And this is kind of like the crisis that we had to have for our birthing into the new consciousness. So, yeah. And we need mental health initiatives as well to support people in this whole thing. Yeah. We must have mental health initiatives. Yeah.
I did because I used to be an academic or researcher, and in my previous incarnation, and I used to, because of that, I'd kept multiple notes as things happened to me, and I actually ended up writing something which I have shared with close friends, that does go into a lot of this. But what I did point out was that in Brazil, they actually, through a thing called the Spiritist movement, the mental health system over there does work in, the traditional one does work in collaboration with mediums and psychics to try and deal with these entities that that definitely attack jinn, or whatever they're called, people who are awakening and who are in the light and who are trying to help raise the vibration of the planet. And it's the only it was set up by somebody, a Frenchman called Alan Kardec, who never actually went to Brazil, but his some followers, some spiritual.
We need to bring it back to more of a collaborative discussion, Joe. I'm sorry. That was a powerful story.
I'm sorry. I didn't want to get involved, but I just wanted to mention that there is that initiative in the mental health field, but only in Brazil. I tried to get it introduced in Australia, but they didn't want to know about it. So,
well, maybe that's something that we can look at. And no, don't be sorry. That was a very powerful story, but maybe that's something we can look at in future initiatives. I think I want to honor everybody's time. I noticed that some people have already had to go, and obviously this is only the beginning of a much bigger discussion. And we need to get some sort of organizing structure around this. Tom, did you want to say something before we go? Sorry, Marlena. What was your name again? I'm sorry. Yeah.
Ben. Yeah.
Ben. I knew it was 3 letters. Yes, Ben.
I just quickly. I really love Joe's story, by the way, and I think that it is important that this is in these discussions as well, because I think that there's so many layers to what's going on right now, and I think there are a lot of groups that are very practically driven, and I'm wanted to actually mention one too. It's Equity of the People's Nation .com that they're just starting up, and they're also looking to collaborate with the Australia Project as well. So there's some people that are doing something similar to.
They've actually got a team of lawyers, and they're wanting to unite minor political parties as well, and common law groups, and also like-minded communities. So it might be a good one to look into if you haven't seen this one already. There's some federal police and people who are in that industry that are looking at setting up strategies to create a movement, but it's all a peaceful movement, all done legally.
Yeah, so, and educating on common law as well. But it's like what you're creating seems very much in line with this too. And one thing I just want to say, and hopefully this doesn't sound too philosophical, but the way I see things, that the government is a overarching control system, and it's like top down, and we're kind of used to being part of an institution or a group that tells us what to do. And my understanding is that if you to go against it, we actually have to do the opposite, which is we have to start to be governing our own lives. And I think that to create good communities like this one that you're wanting to create here, we have to become fully sovereign in ourselves. But again, through education is like, how do we do that? What is common law? What are our rights? And so self-education, then passing that on to other people to create what I see is kind of micro societies that basically just keep growing from a very sovereign state. So yeah, that's how I'm sort of seeing how we can move forward together. But if we try to go too big, we're kind of matching their structure and that system, and we can all see it's failing pretty badly. So yeah, I think having a lot of small cells of people, and people who connect with similar, like I'm into gardening and also astrology, so I'd be part of a gardening group and an astrology group, and think tank with everyone on these things, and I also feel the key word is empowerment. So I think every strategy should be about empowerment, no matter what it is. So yeah, that's just my 2 cents. So thanks for listening.
Yeah, thanks, Ben. Completely agree. We need to keep it simple, and be able to, there's so many people in not just in our country, but all over the world, who have so many incredible skills, resources, knowledge, wisdom, that if we just tap into that, we could have this incredibly empowered collective. We don't need governance from somebody else. We might an organizing structure might be great for, facilitating certain things, but we don't need to be governed necessarily by that structure. We are so over-governed now. And it's now time for us to assert ourselves and say, well, no, we can self-govern and we can do a good job. And that's kind of what this is about. So yes, totally agree. Vratka, is there anything else that you would like to say before?
I will be very quick. I just wanted to add to what Ben said. First of all, I want Ben, I want to support you in, if you really need to get some money from the government, get it, because I think we were up so much that it's unbelievable. When I dig into it in that hole, it's incredible how much money were stolen from us. So it's not their money, it's ours money. Then what you were saying about that self-education, it's absolutely, I absolutely support it, but I want to add also self-reflection, and it's really about unifying our some subconscious and conscious mind, that we are not running on their programming, but we are actually making action out of who we can own. So our action, that we are responsible for our actions. And the last thing is, I am not too sure whether you are aware, my research actually suggests that there would be quantum financial system coming in place very soon. I don't know how soon. I'm not too sure whether anyone heard about this system. And it would be backed by God. So, and I'm not too sure how soon it would be introduced.
There is a lot of talk about the QFS, the quantum financial system, but there's also a lot of uncertainty around that. We don't know when.
Yeah.
I was on a call.
Yeah, I understand that. Yep.
I was on a call last night where there was somebody who was in the banking system that she actually said it would take 10 years to roll out the quantum financial system. So Sylvia's shaking her head, but there's so many, this is the thing, there's so much information from so many different quarters and different sectors. So we don't really know. Other people have to drop off. If you want to stay in touch, then you can reach out to me, or the page is saveourfuturealliance.com. And I actually have created this. People have shared so many resources in the chat. I've created a Telegram chat, which can get really messy, but it's at least a place for us to come together at the moment, share resources, share ideas. So that Telegram chat, I'll repost it in there, or get in touch with me. But I mean, this is just the beginning. Obviously, it's been kind of a bit of a mishmash of ideas and connection. And I'm so happy that you all came here. And if we can grow this to, there's a group that was talking about this uprising and overthrowing the government, which I think is dangerous. And I had alarm bells going off when I sat in on one of their meetings, and A for effort, but you know, they got a couple of thousand people in within a couple of weeks. I'm thinking, obviously people want to do something, so why don't we give them another option that's not necessarily going to get them into a whole lot of trouble? So yes, anybody want any? Yes. Yes. I don't know, you've got your number there, not your name. So
Kerry.
hi, Kerry.
Hi. I worked on a contribution for today, and sorry, I've been unable, I kept dropping in and out of the meeting, and I lost sound, I couldn't hear. So I've actually written it up, and I'd like to read it out as an option that we could do as a group and globally to assist the situation at the moment.
Please.
So I've kind of written that life is a play. We each assume a role like actors do in a movie, the play of light and dark and all that is in between the two. We choose the roles we play, which are dualistic in nature. All roles played stem from the same source, which is beyond light and dark, a place of unification, a place that contains the play of light and dark. The roles assumed within the play and the story lived out will allow for the realization of the source from which all has emerged. The light and the dark must be embraced equally and balanced from within for this to occur. Therefore, it is futile to identify with the light or the dark, and even more futile to go into battle and create conflict between the two, which we know are of the one source. This knowledge is key. How to reconcile this dilemma? How does one live in this world comfortably with what is playing out at this time? How do we maintain a level of freedom without creating conflict or persecution for daring to have personal freedom and liberty at this level of existence? How do we maintain liberty to not be controlled, to not be made to feel powerless, to not be manipulated by fear and used consciously or unconsciously to meet the agenda of those who are manipulative and greedy? To not be crippled mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and financially during this time. We need to take responsibility. With intention, could this dichotomy we are being made to live be dissolved or diffused energetically, utilizing the source from which we all emerge? Could this be a way forward that is conflict-free and undetectable by those who are orchestrating the deceptive events throughout the world? If so, how? For those of us who have awoken to our true nature, for those of us who are in the process of awakening, and for those of us who are beginning to question what on earth is happening at this time, and those who are now seeing or sensing the truth behind current earthly situations related to control and power over others. If we were all to unite from exactly where we are, from within our own homes, and set a daily, weekly time and an intention to hold space within each of us, and therefore connect with that which is each of us truly are, the place which is beyond dualities and any sense of separation between us, that which is our true nature and the source of creation. This state of being is all powerful. This presence has precedence over all else. From this place, all prayer or intentions will be honored. All laws work for and from this state of being. So I believe doing this on a mass scale would highly be beneficial to eliminate what is taking place at this time. What if all who were like of mind across the world made time and space to do this regularly together at a set time and with the same intention? With the example of the intention would be to dissolve all deceptive acts and intentions related to humanity's freedom by stealing their liberty, to remove those beings responsible and who are unwilling to change their way. If we were all to sit regularly with the above intention and allow it to draw into the unified space that we all have within us, our source, the divine God, and trust that the intention will be fulfilled, we will see it as already done without interference, conflict, or persecution. And I kind of gave an example of when you have like 3 jars of rice and your intention is set to those jars, each of them will respond to that intention. So I feel that if if we gathered within ourselves and set a time and enough of us was doing it globally, then that in itself would be very transformative to what is going on and help assist in changing the dynamic. So I hope all that made sense. I tried to simplify it and put it to point, but yeah.
That was powerful, Kerry. I really appreciate that. And if you've printed that out, so if I could either get you to share it in the Telegram group or
definitely.
Brilliant. It's certainly something that we can look at to wrap our heads around with the intention for those questions.
And the other thing I thought of doing it like social media, but even anonymously, and each getting those who want to participate to then share it, and even if it needs to be rewritten in another language for another country to do the same thing, if it was something that people would be willing to do it at home in their own space, in their own time, and then there would be no conflict or persecution. You wouldn't be identified. You wouldn't have to go into any conflict with any any other person, or I just feel it would be a good way to do it energetically and undetectably.
And things need to happen on that level. That's why, like, we've had I've called together a ton of light warriors, and we did very similar working on the energetic plane, the spiritual plane, to help to help really dissolve these energetic structures. So but we could certainly open up some sort of a meditation platform, because we do need it on all levels. We need it on all levels. And that's where I've started this, because even though there's a lot of work that's been done on the energetic plane, and we got a message in the group yesterday that basically the head has been cut off the serpent. But we do need boots on the ground now as well, to look at how do we never allow this to happen again in the future? How do we support people coming out of this? How do we, for want of better words, because I think the governments use this, what's our road to recovery? What is the people's road to the recovery? Not what's dictated to by the government, to be able to take back our freedoms, our sovereignty, and build people-driven structures on the ground that basically give the big finger to government. So I absolutely agree with you, Kerry, and that's something that we can definitely look at as far as bringing more spiritual and like-minded, meditative people together to help energetically, because the more we raise the energy and the frequency and the vibration of the planet, the more people wake up, the more they haven't got a freaking hope. That's the thing. The more people who wake up to this, I mean, if everybody woke up tomorrow and went, oh shit, we've been had, you mongrels. Be messy, because there'd be some pretty pissed people, but it would all stop right there and then. Everybody would go, I ain't playing your game anymore. But we've still got people in the matrix. So
and I think that's what this is reflective of, that people haven't been willing to be responsible for themselves and to make that inner connection. So this is why there's that reflection of what is externally happening at the moment. So
absolutely love it. Thank you very much for sharing. That was very powerful.
Thank you.
Okay, so I would like to wrap it up there, just to respect everybody's time. There's huge chat here that I just haven't even gotten a chance to look through. I'm hoping that will come through with the recording. Lots of different resources. So if you can post those in that Telegram group, so we have somewhere where all those resources are, and we can start building something. From little things, big things grow. And somebody said it before, if just one person shared it out to 5 and those people shared it out to 5, then we could grow this really quickly. But we do need some structure, because unless we have structure, then it's just a lot of people talking all at once. I don't know exactly how we're going to do that, but I trust we will be guided by the divine source to make that happen. So any final thoughts that anybody wants to say before we wrap it up today? All right. Thank you, everybody. Thank you all for your presence, your energy, your minds. And let's see where we go from here, whether we hook into something else that's already being done, or whether we grow this community. You know, I'm just excited because people are stepping up and people are going, we're not going to take this shit anymore. So what are we going to do about it? I love it. Thank you all. All right.
Thank you.
We'll talk to you soon, everybody. Bye.
Bye.